Nintendo announced quite a few new games in the latest Nintendo Direct, and not least among them was Mario & Luigi Dream Team. Although they didn't really show that much of it, we're not going to let that stop us from analyzing the footage and seeing what secrets it might be hiding. So let's get started. So in case you can't tell, the whole game seems to be based around the concept of dreams, specifically Luigi's dreams, which Mario can jump in and explore. Now while the dream sequences appear to take place in a fuzzy bordered side-scrolling environment, the real world appears to be in free-roaming 3D. If this sounds at all familiar, that might be because the previous Mario & Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story, worked pretty much the same way. In that game, the main world was 3D, while the segments that took place inside Bowser were 2D. In fact, while many elements of the series obviously return, the game appears to borrow the most from Bowser's Inside Story. For example, in one of the dream clips we can see that the attack piece blocks are back, which made their debut in the previous game. As you might remember, these blocks award a puzzle piece, and if you collect 10 of them, you'll learn a new special attack. And in that game, those blocks also appeared in both the 2D and 3D worlds, which means that's probably the case here as well. Continuing the trend, one of the scenes shows the brothers exploring a town. Of course, towns are nothing new to the series, and neither is the item shop that they pass by. But what about that store next to it? Well, if we look at the shop's logo, it appears to be an updated version of the one used for the badge stores in Bowser's Inside Story. In case you've forgotten, badges come in all kinds of varieties, but are equipped in pairs and grant special abilities during battle, so it seems they'll be back in full force. While we're on the subject, the trailer shows off a short example of how battles will work this time around, and not surprisingly, they appear to be very similar to past games. In the clip, it appears that Mario's flying solo. Well, mostly, which means that this battle likely takes place in Luigi's dream world. But that doesn't mean Mario will be going in entirely alone during dream battles, as it appears a squad of Luigis will occasionally appear to help out, but more on that in a second. For now, let's take a look at the available battle commands, most of which we've seen before, like jump and hammer attacks, using an item, or running away. But there's also a fifth icon that's never been seen before, Luigi's head surrounded by stars. What does it do? We're not entirely sure, but we think it might be linked to a scene near the end of the footage that shows a star constellation which forms the exact same Luigi head. In that clip, we can see a single Luigi popping out of each of the 7 big stars. Maybe it's related to the number of Luigis that help out during dream battles. Or maybe it's an end of chapter screen that shows how well you performed in that particular dream sequence. As we said, we're really not sure, but either way, the real Luigi sure does seem to be enjoying himself. But let's get back to that battle for a second, since there's still a few more things to point out. For one, even though it's missing a battle icon in the clip, we can see that special attacks are indeed back, as shown by the shell icon and the number of points next to it. And in case you're wondering why the battle icon is missing, it's probably because it's simply not available in the dream world, since these moves have historically been team attacks that require the presence of both brothers. So this basically just confirms the fact that the real Luigi will once again join Mario for battles, but only in the real world when he's not fast asleep. Now if we look at the battle icons again, we can see that the jump icon, which has historically been represented by an upward facing arrow, has been replaced by the boot icon from the Paper Mario series, which is a logical change. But the inspiration taken from Paper Mario doesn't seem to end there. Check out what happens if you freeze a clip right after the plumbers score an excellent timed hit. It looks like the game rewards you with a coin during battle, just like in Paper Mario Sticker Star. We can't help but wonder if Sticker Star might play an even greater influence, or maybe it's just all a coincidence. But that's enough about Paper Mario. This is a Mario & Luigi analysis, damn it! And in that vein, you might have noticed Starlo, the helper character from Bowser's Inside Story, is back too. This time, however, her role seems confined to the real world where she can mess around with the sleeping Luigi by tapping him on the touchscreen. And depending on where you touch, Luigi will react in different ways, and those reactions can actually affect the dream world, Inception style. In the one example shown in the trailer, touching Luigi's nose causes him to sneeze, creating a gust of wind in his dream that can spin objects around. Beyond that, we can see a few other ways in which he can interact with Luigi, such as by dropping his cap onto his face, as well as pulling on his mustache, which is actually a pretty big faux pas in most of the civilized world. But your guess is as good as ours as to how those reactions will impact his dreams, and the world that Mario explores. Now let's take a look at that sneezing clip again. As we pointed out before, Luigi's sneeze causes the platform here to spin around. But if you look close, you might notice that the sneeze doesn't actually affect the platform directly. Instead, if you freeze a clip right before the scene changes, you can see that the platform is actually connected to a wind spinner via a pole, and that's actually what's affected by the sneeze. So in this way, it seems there will be clear visual tells that reveals how Luigi's reactions might affect certain objects. But there's something else we want to note about that spinner, and for that, let's take a look at the clip that immediately precedes it. Here, we can see Luigi lying down to take a nap, creating the dream world that Mario jumps into. But let's take a close look at that background. Yep, that's the same wind spinner from the dream itself. And even the flowers and mountains in the backdrops of both look similar. Taken all together, we think this is a strong indicator that Luigi will be able to fall asleep in different locations, and those locations will factor directly into the dream world with various elements of the real world bleeding in. Supporting this idea is the fact that the ground looks different in each of the 3 clips that shows Luigi dreaming. In this sense, accessing the dream world might actually be similar to Mario & Luigi Partners in Time, where you access different regions based on locations in the overworld. Except instead of time holes, you have pillows instead. And we can't help but wonder if you might be able to alter the real world in a way that will actually change the dream world, similar to the light and dark world mechanic in A Link to the Past. Oh, and in case you're wondering about the icons that surround the sleeping Luigi, we're guessing they're for checking the map, accessing your inventory, and saving the game. Now we mentioned before that you can make use of multiple Luigis during battle in the dream world, but it seems they'll play a role outside of enemy encounters too. In this scene, we can see Mario riding atop a small army of Luigis that destroys any enemies caught in their path. And if you check out the button icons, we can see that you actually control the Luigis directly here instead of Mario himself. Finally, we can see there's a number 1 displayed in the purple box in the corner, but we really have no idea what it might indicate. All we know is that it seems tied to the Luigis in some way, since it's the only scene that it appears in. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and take a look at some of those real-world clips. Now we've already discussed the shops in town, so let's take a look at the nearby characters. The brown ones here look extremely similar to the hooligans at Bean Bean Kingdom in the original Mario & Luigi. Maybe this game takes place in a region nearby. And what about that bird standing just outside the bad shop? He looks awfully suspicious, doesn't he? Especially because it appears to be a costume, and the person underneath even shares the same fashion sense as Mario and Luigi. Strange. The scene immediately after appears to take place in the quarry, but there's not really too much to glean here. Although the cracks in the ground do suggest that you'll be able to dig up beans again, just like in past games. Okay, we're just about done here, but as usual, there are just a few final details left. For one, in a first for the series, the battles appear to take place on the top screen. Granted, this just could be for taking advantage of the 3D screen, but it also might suggest you can interact with the dreaming Luigi even during battles, which might hint at a battle system far deeper than it seems at first glance. Speaking of dreaming, let's take a look at this odd clip. At first, only 3 ghostly Luigis trail Mario, but they're soon joined by a 4th that emerges from a flash of light. But did you spot the mysterious 5th one? If you look close, you can see what appears to be 2 eyes, a nose, and Luigi's trademark stash hovering in the background. But we're really at a complete loss as to what's happening here. All we know is that it appears to be taking place during actual gameplay, as opposed to a cutscene thanks to the on-screen button prompt. Also, in case you're wondering what the on-screen Japanese text reads, it says something along the lines of, "Don't leave me behind, big brother." Huh. And finally, Mario & Luigi Dream Team isn't the first Mario game to take place in a dream world, as Super Mario Bros. 2 took place entirely within the confines of Mario's mind. Could this hint at a few Mario 2 references strewn about? What if this finally marks Wart's big comeback, who hasn't been seen in a Mario game since his appearance in Mario 2? There's even precedent for this, as the original Mario & Luigi also marked the return of the Koopalings, who hadn't been seen at that point in more than a decade. And by the way, did you notice the game's developer is called Alpha Dream? They may just know a thing or two about the subject matter. And with that, we're done covering everything we could dig up on Mario and Luigi Dream Team. As usual, let us know if we missed anything by posting in the comments. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain.com for more on Mario and Luigi Dream Team and other things gaming too.